Hello everyone, welcome to a Kosos 2D tutorial. I'm going to show you how to shoot a projectile in the direction of the player. So the first thing we're going to do is just show you what version of Bolt I'm using. This is the version of Bolt 1.4 and this is the version of Unity. Okay, let's go ahead and create a floor. I'm just going to use a cube. Stretch it out here. Okay. Make sure it's 0, and let's do 1 to bring it up to the front. Let's drag her down. And since it's a 3D object, I'm just gonna change it, the box collider to a box collider 2D. No way, it's in the 2D world. Okay, and I'll just name this maybe floor. Alright, then I'm just going to bring in the player. This player I got from the asset store, a 2D Archer sprite. Okay, let's go ahead and bring him up. And he's not showing, so let's bring in the Z, and there he goes. And I'm just going to name this to player. Alright, and then I'll go ahead and add a box collider and just change this up. Let's adjust this a little bit. So therefore, alright, and also on the player, we're gonna add in a rigid body 2D. Alright, so now when I hit play, we should just go all the way down to the bottom and stop. Alright. Oh, can't see his feet. Let's just adjust the, we'll adjust the collider a little bit more. We'll just do it there. Alright. Now for the player, let's add a component called flow machine. Create new. So we're just going to create a flow macro, and let's just call it player controller. Now we want to start with making them go left and right. So we want to get the axis. And we can do raw. Raw is just -1 and 1. So -1 is left and 1 is right. With the get axis, it's just -1 and it smooths its way to 1. So, oops, let's replace that with just do raw and call it horizontal. And this just passes out a float, which we want to multiply with speed. So let's do multiply. And we want speed. So best thing to do here is just type in speed in the graph, because you're going to create a variable. And I want to float, and then drag it over to get. Alright, so that way we can change the speed. Let's just do a default of 5. And then the next thing here is to set a variable. We could do another graph, set the movement. Float. Alt click drag. And I'm gonna do this on an update. Okay, so what this is doing is just going -1 or 1. If you're pressing A or D, if you're not pressing anything, it'll default to 0. So just multiplying that by speed, and we're putting that into movement. Now this isn't going to do anything if you hit play. In order to make the player move, we need to set its velocity. So if we grab the movement and we want to create a vector 2, vector 2 xy. Okay, and then we're going to connect that to there, and we're at the velocity. So we're going to set the velocity. Which you really don't need to connect this. But we can connect this to here after we're setting it. And then just connect this here. So this is changing the X and the Y. And that we should see some movement. So I'm gonna go ahead and press play. So we have movement here. Okay. Now we want to be able to flip the character. All right. Now let's go ahead and just duplicate the movement. We want a comparison. Oops. Comparison. So if the movement is, if the movement is less than 0, we want it to set the float. We want to set the local scale to -1. So this is the local scale. So if we were to change this to -1, he flips 1, flips to the right. We can also do rotation of 180, but that's a little bit more nodes. So we're just gonna keep it at 0 and then just do it the easy way. -1, 1. Okay. Let's do this. Let's add a branch. And this branch is going to connect to this. Okay. You know what? I did that wrong. So if it's 0, if we're, let's see here. So oh, I'm sorry. Let's do the select. So we have a select node. Therefore, if it's false, if it's less than, if A is less than B, so if the movement is less than B, which is 0, then it's true. Okay. So we want to add a float, and we're going to say -1. And let's just add another float for +1. So if this statement is true, it's going to output -1. If it's false, it's going to output +1. And we want that to go to our, we want to create another vector, the vector 2, xy. And we want to set the local scale. Okay. And so basically, if there's no movement, if this is 0, if 0 and 0, then this equals true. If it's false, then we want to, and there's movement, then we want to set this at either -1 or 1. Therefore, it's stuck there if we're not moving at all. So it's gonna face either left or right. Also, we need to add, we have to get the current local for the Y. So we have to get local scale. Just in case he jumps on the Y, we want to get the local scale. Oops. I'll do get Y. So now once you hit play, got left and right, and it's changing the local scale. Ooh, that's right. I'm hitting D and I'm hitting A for left. Now that we got our movement, we can shoot or fire a projectile. So we need unbutton input. Let's do a button input, and we're gonna do fire 1. All of this is in your edit project input. It's all your input manager. So you have your fire 1 right here. Okay, so once we fire, click the left mouse. You want to instantiate a bullet or an arrow or whatever projectile you want. So let's do the instantiate. Okay, this one work. Okay. We need rotation, which we'll use get identity. What this does is just says, hey, there's no rotation. We need to get the position. Let's get the position. So this is the position of the player. Okay. And now we want to set a variable. We'll do an object variable, and we call this direction. And we're gonna connect it to the new prefab that we're gonna put in here in a little bit. And we want to get the direction of the player. We're gonna set local scale, or actually we need to get local scale. And that's not gonna work there. All we need for direction is left and right, which is the x-axis. So we gotta get the x on a vector 2 and connect it there. So that way it'll be -1 or +1, left or right. So what this does is just creates a variable in the prefab object. So when it starts, it will see what direction to go and what position to be at. So now let's create a projectile. Let's do a cube again. Cubes are awesome. And let's just make this small. This will be my arrow. Or let's bring this in, make it smaller. Alright, and then let's bring this to the forefront. Actually, a little bit. Okay. And we need a rigid. We're not going to have a box collider, we're just going to do a rigid body. That way we'll give it velocity. And remove the gravity. That way it doesn't fall. We're just going to go straight, continually going straight. And we're going to go ahead and make a prefab out of this. That way we can reuse it over and over again. Now that we got our arrow on, let's create a flow. New. And you can just save this in one of your macro. And let's just call this arrow launch. Okay, so on our start event, we want to set the velocity, and we want to get the direction, so we need to get direction. Oops, let's do get variable, get object variable, and this will be direction. We need to create a vector 2 so we can change the value of the x. But the thing is, we need some speed, so we need to multiply it. Graph, let's do speed. Let's do 10. Okay, and on start, this will shoot in the direction of the character, and the position is already set. What you can do also in the prefab, if you can put in direction here and then do a float instead of letting it do it by itself. So now when I hit play, oh, you know what? I forgot to drag in. Alright, hold on. Alright, now let's go back to the player, and we're gonna bring in the arrow prefab. Alright, now we should be good. Click. So there you go. Now, the only thing is it's shooting up high. As you can tell, it's gonna shoot right here where this red arrow is. Now, how we change that, where the arrow is down here, is we need to create an empty object. We're gonna call this, let's just do an arrow holder. And we want to align this about right there or so. Okay. And there's on this, when it instantiates, we want to get the child. So 0 is the first child of the player. All we're gonna do is just connect this, hit play. Da, 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 da. And there you go. And it's shooting where the holder is. And one other thing before I go, let's go back to arrow. We're gonna destroy. Spelled that wrong. Destroy the object in about 2 seconds. We want self. So we're gonna destroy self in 2 seconds. Bloop, 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 bloop. All right. Well, thank you for watching.